Coming for you, Brian.
That's right. Fishing low light. Low light is going to be your friend in the summertime. And what I'm talking about when I mean low light, I don't necessarily mean only early morning or late in the evening. Now, those are going to be key times. Really early in the morning before the sun gets bright, it's going to be key. Late when the sun's going down, it's going to be key. You're going to have like an hour, hour and a half window there. But what else am I talking about? So you're going to have cloudy days. When you have cloudy days, especially during the summertime, just know that the fish are probably going to be pretty active. The one caveat is they're going to be out roaming around, so cutting down your water can be a little bit challenging, but you would essentially go to all the same areas, docks, big grass mats, anywhere that shade is typically provided or deep water. So these fish that are offshore, they're going to be in those same areas. They're just going to be a little bit different, right? So if they're offshore fish, they're probably going to be suspended. They might even be up a little bit shallower than what they would have been because they're not getting that light penetration. The only reason they went offshore in the first place is to get away from the hot sun and the light. The deep water is cooler. On a cooler day, they don't need to do that. The fish that are around docks, that are up in structure, they're going to be around that same stuff. They're just going to pull out away from that structure and they're going to be really close to it. Now, really bright times during the day, so we're talking about sun's bright, there's hardly any clouds in the sky, you're going to want to fish those shaded areas. So look for your tree lines that are putting shade off into the water. It can be really, really subtle. We're talking about just a couple of inches can be touching that water. As long as it's deep enough for a fish to be there, they'll use those shade lines for the comfort of the shade, but they'll also use it as an ambush zone. Those shade lines make it really hard for those bait as they're coming in and out of those areas to see. And so those fish will use that to their advantage to pick these baits off. You think about yourself, if you're coming out of a dark room or if you're going from really bright to dark, it kind of takes your eyes a chance to adjust, a little moment to adjust. Same thing for a fish. All animals are the same way. That adjustment period, that split second is what's going to compromise that bait fish and get them slammed by a big bass, and then the bass know that, right? So you're going to want to fish shaded areas. We're calling that low light, and you're going to want to fish the low light times, whether it's cloudy outside or we're just talking about really early or really late. If you focus on those areas and those times, that's going to be your best chance during the summer to catch a fish. So that's tip number one. Now let's talk about tip number two. Tip number two really is going to come down to bait sizes. Really, you're going to want to focus on two different bait sizes. You can go all over the spectrum in the summer because their fish's metabolism is higher than it's ever been before. It's going to be at a point where they'll really eat anything, but there's two bait sizes that they're going to focus on most, and that's really large style baits. Actually isn't even really, really large, but a big 6-inch plus glide bait, or maybe a big spoon. This is a big 7-inch spoon, right? Maybe even a topwater lure like this big Gancraft Joy Crawler. That's like an 8-inch bait, a couple ounces. Something like maybe the Suwitch. It could also be something that maybe you don't think of as a big bait, but it's big bait to a fish, big profile anyway. Something like a jackhammer, spinner bait, a jig. All of those things are big profile baits. So that's your first type of bait to focus on. The other type would be small baits, finesse baits. I don't have a Nico rig or anything like that. I just don't fish a lot of those. I don't have it on hand here is what I'm saying. But that would be included in these small bait sections. So small swim baits, small crank baits, really small of all of your regular style baits. So if you fish a trap all the time, go to a 1/4 ounce trap or maybe even a little 1/8 ounce trap and put it on spinning gear. But those are your two types of bait styles that you're going to want to focus on: large style baits and small style baits. It's just really that simple. The fish are eating. They're going to be eating one of the two. If they're not eating really large style baits or they're not eating really small style baits and you've tried slow and fast retrieves across both, I hate to tell you, but it's probably just not a good fishing window, or you're in a really, really poor area of the lake, or maybe both. But yeah, I feel like you're probably wasting your time if you're focusing on those two different bait types big style baits, finesse small style baits, if you're not getting bites across one of those, probably just not a good day fishing. Now, let's talk about the third, but obviously, really, in my opinion, the most important of these three pieces of advice for summertime fishing. And that's going to be high quality H2O. That's right. You're going to want to make sure to have water on you of some sort. If you're carrying a thermos, if you're carrying a cooler, I recommend carrying a cooler with ice in it. Have nice cool water. You're getting dueling effects there. It's cooling your core off a little bit. It's also giving you hydration. That cool water takes a little bit longer to absorb into your body, so keep that in mind, which is why I think you need to be hydrating well before you get out on the water, really the day before. If you know you're going to go out during the summertime, you need to be drinking more water the day before than what you normally do on a day, because you're going to lose more water that next day than what you normally do. So you're going to be dehydrated at the end of the day no matter what, but you're going to be potentially dangerously dehydrated by the end of the day if you haven't drank water before you get out there. So you need to keep that in mind. Hydration is not something that you're doing just in the moment while you're hot and while you're feeling thirsty. You really need to make sure that you're hydrating before. And why I'm putting that into this summer video is for the obvious, for safety, but also because that's going to extend your time out on the water. I promise you, I've been spending 8 to 9 hours on the water during the day, and this has been during 100 up to 105 degree temperatures. I fished most recently this weekend. There was hardly any wind. Yes, I was hot. Yes, I was tired, but I was never in danger, and I was able to comfortably, at least as comfortably as you could in that kind of heat, fish all day long in a tournament, and I didn't have to take any breaks. And that's because I took care of myself before. I drank a bunch of water. I had good wicking clothes on, which is also something that I didn't put specific in this video, but just make sure you take care of yourself, hydrating, protecting yourself from the sun. It's going to keep you out on the water more. It's going to make you more successful. And with that, guys, I really hope that y'all enjoyed this video. I just wanted to put some information out there because I know a lot of people are trying to fish during these summer heat hours. It can be kind of daunting. If you stick with these three things, it's going to make you more successful and safe on the water. It's going to catch you more fish. And stay tuned for more content because I'll be putting out more stuff like this soon, guys.